All right, we start with this. Media personality Minnie Dlamini has agreed to pay back 50,000 rand that she unlawfully received from the National Lotteries Commission. The Special Investigating Unit says Dlamini received the money back in 2016. It was a grant meant for a non-profit organization. SIU spokesperson Kaizer Kganyago joins us live from Johannesburg. Kaizer, thank you so much for your time. It's been an ongoing story, and we remember, of course, there were other high-profile media personalities that were involved in this matter. But perhaps break down to us how far this goes back and her involvement in this payout that was meant for NGOs.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your viewers. Yeah, this matter has been going on since the proclamation was put up in 2020, and we were looking at different grant funding that was done to NPOs. And in this particular instance, the money was not given to her directly by the National Lotteries Commission. It was a payment that was made to her by an NPO called Mashandukani, which got a deal for over 24 million rand to do road shows for the Rio Olympics. And they did not do what they are supposed to do. Therefore, we were now following on who were the beneficiaries of the money that they got, which is the 24 million. And one of them was Minnie Dlamini, and we wanted to understand what is it for. And ultimately, we reached an agreement that she will pay it back, as she has agreed that it was not paid to her lawfully. Therefore, she has already paid the money. She has cooperated with us, and then she has already paid the 50,000 as we speak.
And of course, as she joins a list of other individuals that were involved in this matter, paying back that money, does that of course mean now she's of course in the clear? And how much more money does the SIU need to recoup in this matter?
Yeah, in this matter, we need to get to on the whole of the 24 million that was paid. And then some of the money, we have already freezed properties belonging to Mshandukani and so on before. Therefore, we are just following up on all the people that benefited. But the idea is to understand why were they paid and what the money was paid for, so that if it is paid legally and it was lawfully paid, it's okay. But if it wasn't, therefore, the money has to come back and go back to the Lotteries Commission.
And I think, Kaizer, what's important, and you raise it there to say, why was this money paid? A lot of the time, and what people understood initially when the scandal first came out was that this was, of course, a grant that was supposed to be paid to certain NGOs for certain work done by some of these media personalities that were part of this. But do we know, essentially, what loopholes were abused, and whether or not this, of course, will be seeing a similar matter of have we managed essentially to close those loopholes in regards to how individuals are involved in certain grants and, of course, NGOs losing out on millions of rands?
Yes, we have. When we're doing the investigation, we realized that there was a loophole in how the applications and the approvals of the grant funding was done. And we have given that systemic recommendation to the National Lotteries Commission to close all of those gaps so that it can be, because it was just open for abuse. Anybody would just go to somebody and say, apply for this thing, and then they, on the other side, working with that person, approve it and send the money to those people. And they knew, even in the beginning, that the money was not going to be used for what it was intended. Like in this case, the money was supposed to be used for road shows on behalf of SASCOC, to do for the Rio Olympics. Therefore, that was not used for that. Therefore, it was then given to people for whatever reason. In some instances, you might find that it was for the right reasons. They gave a service, whatever the case might be. But we have set aside that all of those grant fundings, like in this particular one, we have set it aside. And therefore, all the monies that were given has to be returned to the National Lotteries Commission.
All right. And I understand that also a part of that scheme would also to be to get sort of hijacked or bogus NPOs. What do we know in regards to the status of some of those shelf companies, if you will?
No, definitely. All of those that we found that were hijacked and so on, we have gone to the tribunal, we have cancelled, because we are now at the stage of consequence management where we need to recover the money. Therefore, we go back and we cancel those agreements, and then we allow that the monies be paid back.
All right. And I think, Kaizer, one of the, I keep alluding to it, but perhaps maybe you're not touching on it. And another individual that was involved was, of course, a Kwaito superstar producer that we all know, Date Arthur Mafugane. His involvement in this matter, what is the latest in regards to that investigation?
Yeah, that one was a different NPO altogether.
Okay. That
was dealing with something else. Therefore, as part of the updates, you remember we freezed the lodge that they used the money for in Midrand, and now we are in the process of finalizing the matters before the tribunal, and once they are finalized, therefore we'll apply for a forfeiture order to sell those properties and then to cover the money back to the lottery.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Of course, the Special Investigating Unit spokesperson, Kaizer Kganyago, speaking about the breaking news coming from their media personality, Minnie Dlamini, paying back 50,000 rand that was paid to her from a scheme done by the National Lotteries to NPOs. That 50,000 paid back to the entity.